discuss California Senator Alex Padilla. Senator, thank you so much for sharing part of your afternoon with us. When you hear your Democratic colleague there argue that Democrats lose the moral high ground when they refuse to condemn some of the behavior, some of the violent behavior that we've seen, I wonder what your response is. Would you like to see a stronger condemnation from members of your party?
So thank you, Boris. And look, let me start by saying, as much as I respect Senator Fetterman, my colleague from Pennsylvania, he does not know the situation on the ground. And every interview I've done, every interview of my Democratic House colleagues, my colleague Senator Schiff from California on these issues, one, we all have condemned the violence. It has distracted from the key message of the protesters and the demonstrators. Even the chief of police has recognized that the individuals involved with the looting and vandalism at night is a very different set of people than the organizers and advocates that are marching, that are demonstrating, that are protesting peacefully throughout the course of the day. So that is an important distinction. And I think what's also important to remind ourselves of is it didn't have to get to this point. This is absolutely a crisis that has been made intentionally by Donald Trump, beginning with the increasingly aggressive and theatrical immigration enforcement activities, the ICE raids in elementary schools and houses of worship, please, to him looking or creating any opportunity to further and further escalate. The federalization of National Guard troops was not only unnecessary, it's counterproductive. And as things have quieted down during the day, from day to day, he responds not with de-escalation, but now potentially sending Marines. He's the one escalating, he's the one creating the tension, and it has got to stop.
Senator, under U.S. law, ICE is authorized to arrest undocumented individuals. I wonder what specifically you would have done differently in response to these immigration violations, because according to law, there's really nothing stopping the administration from carrying this out, right?
Yeah, look, you're absolutely right. The law is the law. But what Donald Trump said throughout the course of his campaign was there was going to be a focus, a prioritization of dangerous, violent criminals. And while I'm sure there are more than a few of dangerous, violent criminals that have been detained, have been deported since he returned to office on January 20th, if you look at the totality of what they have done, it is far beyond just a focus on dangerous, violent criminals. The vast majority of immigrants, both documented and undocumented, are not lawbreakers. In fact, so many of them work in industries that are so key to our economy, in construction, in hospitality, in healthcare, etc. That's why in the first Trump administration, he designated so many of them as essential workers at the beginning of the pandemic. And let's talk about not just Los Angeles, but California, Boris. California is not just the most populous state in the nation, the most diverse state in the nation, home to more immigrants than any other state in the nation. It's also the largest economy by far of any state in the nation, the fourth largest economy in the world, not despite its immigrant population, but because of the contributions of so many immigrants as workforce, as consumers, as entrepreneurs. So yes, let's focus on detaining, deporting violent criminals, dangerous criminals, but everybody else, there's got to be a better way. And Donald Trump has yet to propose a pathway forward for dreamers, a pathway forward for farm workers and so many others that have been here, living here for years, if not decades, contributing to the success of our communities and the country as a whole.
To your point about the military mobilization, as of last night, local law enforcement shared with us that they had not been fully briefed on the Marines' mission. There seemed to be a lack of communication, specifically as to what they would be doing, what the terms of engagement are. I wonder what your understanding is of what they and the National Guard have been authorized to do beyond standing guard at these two federal buildings that Mayor Karen Bass outlined earlier today.
Yeah, Boris, that's a question that we're all asking. The mayor's asking the question, the governor's asking the question, Chief McDonald and LAPD is asking the question, Sheriff Luna, the LA County Sheriff's Department is asking the question. I have a request into the White House directly to be briefed on all those details and haven't gotten the answers yet. You know, just to underscore how disorderly, how shoot from the hip this operation has been. The Marines learned about their potential mobilization through the press. they themselves don't know what the mission would be if Marines start being deployed within the communities of the city of Los Angeles. The lack of coordination of the National Guard has left them sleeping literally on the floors in the buildings that they're designated to protect. And when there's that lack of coordination with local law enforcement, it actually makes the job of the deputy sheriffs and the police officers that are trying to protect people and protect the city and protect property that much harder, because they're doing that on the one hand while also trying to protect the federal agents that are out there.
Senator, our reporting indicates that right now the administration is exercising powers beyond what's in the realm of the Insurrection Act, but President Trump has not ruled out invoking it. In fact, given some of the language that he and others in the administration have used about there being insurrectionists and open rebellion, the blocking of federal officials from carrying out law enforcement, it seems like it might still be on the table. What happens if the president invokes the Insurrection Act, if this weekend there are more protests and things escalate from there? What do you see happening?
Well, it's a classic hope for the best, but prepare for the worst. Hope for the best. We know that Attorney General Bonta and a lot of his colleagues have gone to court because we do believe that this federalization and deployment of National Guard women and men is not been properly justified according to the powers outlined for the President of the United States. And if it certainly hasn't been properly communicated. But if that's unsuccessful, then we still have to continue to hold this administration accountable. I'll give you one stat that came out today. Secretary of Defense Peter Hegseth, in front of a House committee today, finally acknowledged this operation, Boris, is costing $143 million. For how many detentions? Maybe a few dozen. This is not the most cost-effective way. It's not the most effective way to be doing this job.
And lastly, Senator, you spoke about this military mobilization being unnecessary and part of a federal overreach. Do you feel that local law enforcement could have done more to prevent what we saw Friday night bleeding into Saturday before the National Guard was called in?
Look, I have full faith in local law enforcement and their leadership. As Sheriff Luna has been, on CNN and other networks explaining, there's a very healthy and robust mutual aid system throughout the region. So if the LAPD needs further help, there's communication with surrounding agencies. Los Angeles has been through this before, whether it's marches, whether it's protests, whether it's rallies, whether it's parades. We know how to do crowd control and restore a situation, but when the President of the United States unlawfully escalates the tensions through the deployment of federal forces, that is not only not helpful, it's counterproductive. Let local law enforcement do their job.
Senator Alex Padilla, thank you so much for the time.
Thank you, Boris.
Still to come, LA's